I don't know how this man Paul George does it, bro. He's so delusional.
Did you see the signs? Think before you talk.
What did I say was wrong?
And his podcast intros are just as stupid as he is. Honestly, it's just sad.
Podcast P fam, welcome back to another episode of Podcast P, a Wave Sports and Entertainment original presented.
Daryl Morey and the 76ers front office. Unfortunately, these losers in Philly, this guy's so fat he can't even fit on my screen. The losers in Philly decided to give Paul George a crazy good contract that he could not pass on. And that's why he's on the team today. Do you guys remember when there was fanfic about the Warriors potentially getting Paul George and how this could legit be a title contending team? And I made fun of it all. I woke up in the morning yesterday and I don't know what it was. I think it was one of these tweets here, right? It said here, keep a very close eye on the Warriors regarding Paul George if Klay Thompson is to leave. Like, what? Paul George? Like, the Warriors want to go get Paul George? And it was like, yeah, Warriors fans are legit excited at the prospect of getting Paul George. Are we serious right now? And I suppose today they're still as delusional as ever because they're, I think, the number one seed or tied with the OKC Thunder or something like that. Yeah, okay, number one seed in the Western Conference. I bet you they would not be this good with Paul George instead of Klay Thompson on the team. But what this man has managed to do over the last couple months, becoming a full-time podcaster whilst being paid to play part-time basketball, is actually quite splendid. It's respectable. It's quite fun.
So I think that's kind of where, you get to late in the year and, we just weren't as good as we could have been. I think losing those guys kind of hurt us. You know what I mean? Because like Rocco is huge for us. Nico was huge for us.
Remember when this dude made a whole podcast episode and he talked about how James Harden trading for him basically got Rocco and Batum, the guys that do the dirty work, out of the team. And now Kawhi and Paul George have to do the dirty work. I'm telling you, for his brand, Paul George, Podcaster P, might be the worst thing that I've ever seen. Because this man inexplicably throws Harden under the bus and then subsequently proceeds to basically say that the guys that did the dirty work now are gone, so we have to do it, as if like you're above the dirty work, you're above it all. And yes, I made a video a while ago that's private now, talking about how teams that want Paul George's services are delusional. They should not want his services. He is not a full-time basketball player anymore. This dude is just a podcaster that is potentially a part-time player at this point. And we look at these numbers here, well, it certainly doesn't look like basketball is a priority in his life anymore. Oh, and now that he's teamed up with Joel Embiid and the 76ers, things just are getting worse for the team as a whole. I'll make a video about that very soon, but I just want to talk about the Paul George segment of it.
When you let one of these big-time superstars, when you let them walk and you get nothing for them, considering what you gave up, even if the compensation wasn't comparable to what you gave up to get PG, you were able to get some draft picks to restock the shelves. You got nothing. If what you're saying is true, how do they acquire players when you got Kawhi on that contract and he plays, when he plays. But you got no draft capital to go out and trade for somebody. They're in trouble. All this notion, this is the LA market. They got billboards with Kawhi Town. And look what happened. It's about to be a ghost town in that new $15 billion building that they built in Playa Vista.
And I don't even entirely disagree with what Shannon Sharp said there, okay? Yes, the Clippers could have gotten something out of Paul George leaving. They could have at least gotten something in return, right? It's just simply bad business. But can we please stop pretending like this dude is a big-time superstar? Like, this dude, this is the problem. This is why the Clippers let him walk. He was demanding superstar money at his age with his level of production. I think people suffer from like nostalgia issues, okay? Because they see 2019, his best season by far in his career, 28 points a game, 2 steals a game, led the league in steals. And they think, oh, we could get something close to this back in the Paul George. The Clippers tried this for years. They tried seeing if they could get something like that. Nothing close came of it. Okay, he did have 2 steals a game here, but ultimately he was not that impactful in the playoffs. I mean, just look at the numbers here. 21, 26 points per game. That was by far his best playoffs run in a long time. And then look at this, the recent playoffs, 19 points a game. I want to tell you something about that playoffs, okay? This is the Clippers team in the playoffs. Let's see the per game averages. And Harden leads the team in points per game. Harden's not supposed to be a first option at his age. Paul George is supposed to be the first option. I know Paul George is a year younger around this time, but this is ridiculous. This is the type of shit that makes me, and obviously the Clippers front office look at Paul George demanding what? 3 years and 150? Oh, sorry. No, sorry. He was talking about, he was demanding that plus a no trade clause to show how loyal you were to me and Kawhi. Like, this is pathetic. This is such pathetic nonsense. No wonder the Clippers were like, you know what? We might as well just not even take his contract on. Let him walk. I don't care if we get nothing out of him. It's okay. Because again, like I said, the Sixers right now are in turmoil. They're 2-12. They have, I think, the worst record in the league right now. Yes, the Sixers with 2-12 record have the worst in the league. Even the Jazz, look at this. They're 3-11. They have a win above the Sixers. Look, man, they are in the worst situation in the NBA. People were freaking out about the Bucks being 2-8. They've won 4 of the last 5 games. They're 6-9 now. No need to worry much about them. But the Sixers... And a big reason for this is because Daryl Morey thought he was the smartest man in the room. Like he always thinks, right? Back when his Houston days, this guy was sniffing his own farts when it comes to analytics. And it led to 27 straight threes missed. Look, let me tell you something, bro. This guy, Daryl Morey, he's quite frankly a fart sniffer that thinks he's the smartest man every time. And he'll make stupid moves because of it. I guess I'll talk about it a little bit here since, you know, I'm on the topic right now. This big 3 is not a bad big 3, okay? Paul George being a third option here, it's not a bad situation, actually. It's actually pretty good. This team should be a good team, if not a borderline contending team, with all of them healthy, right? But obviously, we don't live in a hypothetical, idealized world. Not just that, but the Sixers, the players they decided to build around the margins, right? The guys that Daryl Morey decided to sign afterwards, right? Because they had a lot of cap space, right? That was the big plan. A big splash to be made in free agency with all that cap space freed up after trading the guys like Batum and all that stuff. After trading all these guys, you have so much money to spend on players. They brought in guys like Kyle Lowry back. Let's see here. Gershon Yabusele from France. Eric Gordon. Okay, Kyle Lowry and Eric Gordon are like 2 of the oldest guards in the NBA right now. I think they're the 2 oldest guards in the NBA. Kelly Oubre, okay, not bad. But ever since that car accident, he hasn't been so good, okay? Caleb Martin, all right? And, wow, I don't know why that picture's so small, but Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond was like the big backup center splash that they got. Oh, they got a backup for Embiid. I don't know why the 76ers still to this day haven't learned this lesson about getting a backup center from a different team and thinking, oh, it's going to work out just like it did on their team. No, it's not. Embiid's the main center for a reason. He's going to be a backup to Embiid, okay? That's not going to work. They tried playing Al Horford with Embiid. I remember that season, okay? I made a whole video talking about Embiid's career, okay? You guys can watch it. Okay, I'll plug it in here. Look, let me tell you something. Daryl Morey shot the bed yet again during the offseason, an offseason that many people praised him for, and it was because he decided to build around a injury-prone duo in Embiid and Paul George alongside Maxey, who now is getting a bit of the injury bug himself. Okay, so Paul George, of course, he hyperextended his knee in the preseason, and he had to miss a couple games because of it. And boy, when I was watching this game last night, he did it again, folks. Look at this. Oh, the booty pops out yet again. Yo, this guy, I feel bad for him. Oh, Nick Nurse, we'll get into him in a future video because he's been stinky. It makes me happy seeing Swish Out make a video like this. I'll top him off, not just by... Oh, pause. What the fuck did you say? I'll top his video soon, okay? Because Embiid, yes, he's becoming the worst superstar. But I'm telling you, that video is going to be fun. Because I'm giving you a 2-for-1. You see what I did there? A 2-for-1 here, folks. A video about Paul George and Embiid. Okay, that's 2-for-1 talk pick, Sixers topic. Guys, I'm a genius. Just give me the money already. All right, let's get the podcast P and what he said about his recent game against the Clippers.
Paul, you mentioned earlier that the fans had a fair reaction to you coming back. Does it bother you though at all that they booed you for large stretches of that game? Like after 5 years here, playing your heart out for them, like does that bother you at all?
I mean, you know, it's stupid. I mean, I was a free agent. You know what I mean? I was a free agent. It wasn't something that I, you know, demanded a trade or.
Yeah, this dude was yapping around this press conference. He was pissed. He was not happy with the booze. He was even making fun of the wall.
What do you think of into a dome and the wall?
It was great. It was great. You know, I wish it would have been a little bit more packed out. I didn't think it was quite packed. The wall, I think I won the wall 2 for 2. So, you know, they got to do a little bit better.
Yeah, apparently Paul George beat the wall even though he lost the game. Interesting stuff here. Being a podcaster must be tough on the soul because this guy clearly is suffering inside. The wall, they had a bunch of signs, one of them making fun of his podcast. Funny stuff here. And I'm pretty sure Paul George, when he heard about this, he was quite frankly hurt inside. Oh, good block.
Did you notice any of the signs they were holding up in the wall?
No.
Just having some fun on their podcast.
Oh, is it? Yeah. I saw it was a newspaper. But
you saw the newspaper? I'm not
guess
sure what that was about, but
yeah.
they also had like some, I don't know, like making fun of your podcast.
Oh. All right, well, I'm sure they're all probably subscribers. It's a win-win. It's 2 wins against the wall, I guess.
I'm telling you guys, but Paul George is flirting to Patrick Beverley's harassment here, man. This guy, if he's not careful, he might head down a very dark path. Okay, I'm just letting you know. But yeah, he even reacted to this on his podcast, and he said some more stuff that was quite interesting.
When the tribute was going on, the wall was cheering. And like, I ain't trying to hear that shit. I ain't trying to hear that shit now.
Wait.
So right after I wave them off, they go back to booing.
Did you see the signs?
What did it say?
There's a couple of them like
They had a podcast.
shut up and talk, like stop, think before you talk, and they
What did I say
they
was
came
wrong?
prepared.
What did
Say
I
that
did?
again?
I did not call Clippers the B team. I said it felt like the B team just because of everywhere you go, people in LA say you should be a Laker.
Paul George, I love how he's somewhat self-aware. He's like, what did I say that was wrong? Actually, you know what? I did talk about the B team, but guys, it's not what you think it is. I wasn't trying to say that the Clippers are nothing without the Lakers. Paul, it wasn't just that comment, okay? It wasn't just that comment. The way you negotiated your contract and you even publicly talked about it on your podcast, it didn't sound very good. Then you had quotes like this in the summer where he goes like, I mean, at this point, it's not even about like people saying chasing a championship. Like it's not that, but it's playing the right style of basketball is what I'm chasing. What do you mean playing the right style? Is that why you went to the Philadelphia 76ers and not the Clippers? What like that's some shade being thrown there. And that's what I really despise about this podcast. Paul George is just throwing shade here and there, saying a bunch of shit. And then when he gets called out on it, he acts oblivious, act like he's never said some things. He's never did anything wrong. He gets told about the signs on the wall here, but all of a sudden, when he gets told by the signs here on the podcast, oh, he's acting oblivious yet again. It's like, I don't even think he knows that he does this, subconsciously. At this point, I feel like it's so natural for Paul George to do this that he doesn't even realize he's doing it. And I'm so glad that this season, we're finally seeing more of Paul George being what he really is, which is a part-time basketball player. This guy plays part-time. Even on the court, you could see it. You could tell his effort is not fully there. You could tell he's just not the same player he was in 2019. The Clippers were duped, but then they realized they were duped and they just let him go. Sometimes you have to let these things go, and they did. Norman Powell having a way better season than Paul George. I know you guys tripped there. Norman Powell is averaging a career high. Let me zoom out here. Career high 23 points per game on career high shooting, 48% from deep on 8 attempts a game. He wasn't doing this with Paul George was here. He's averaging 10 plus points a game since Paul George left the Clippers. Is that a coincidence? I think not. This is why when Norman Powell said this after losing Paul George, right? I saw it as addition by subtraction. More guys getting opportunities, including myself. I understood perfectly what he was trying to say. He was trying to say I was being held back by PG's antics.
Me and Norm was going at it a little bit. It was fun competing against Norm, knowing that all he wants to do is go right.
Norman Powell, the media wants to talk about his comments with the addition by subtraction.
I didn't take his comments as a diss. I didn't take it as salty or negative. It's the honest truth. Me being gone gives him opportunities. He's balling his ass off. He looks great. He's super efficient. They need him to do what he's doing right now, or they don't have a chance.
I know Paul George doesn't want to talk about it, but the fact that he's doing this as soon as you leave the team, oh man, it's funny. It's funny. And I'm familiar with Norm's game. He's a former Raptor, NBA champion, and even I didn't think he was this good. I'll be honest with you, bro. He is a splendid player. He's always been an energy guy, but one thing that he's shown to be more recently is a very lethal scorer, and that's something I'm very happy to see myself as a Raptors fan. Now, you may say, look, it's early season numbers. Okay, those are probably going to regress to the mean, most likely. But he is getting more shots up, so he's most likely still going to have an above-average season to his liking, right? He's in year 10. His career, he's basically a veteran at this point, and he's putting up numbers that are, quite frankly, sensational to watch. It's beautiful. I love it for him. And Paul George in this recent game, he lost to the Grizzlies. His team did. Embiid played as well. Maxey played. I think this was the first game the big three of Maxey, Embiid, and Paul George played this season. And they still could not beat a Grizzlies team that was missing. Let's see here. Zach Edey, G.G. Jackson, John Morant, Vince Williams Jr., and, guys like Conchar and Marcus Smart were also not playing in this game. So 6 players that would legitimately have rotation minutes in this team were not playing, and they still beat the Sixers. That's impressive. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I made this video, why do teams want Paul George's services? I was serious. I was very serious about it. I know some people were probably like, yo, chill, bro. Paul George is still a good player. Really? And the kicker is how much he's getting paid this year to play basketball, and that is $49 million. Not just that, but he's being paid $211 million in 4 years to play basketball. He's 34 years old. That means by the time he turns 38, he's going to be on his last year of his deal. $56 million will be owed to him. Do you know how ridiculous it is that a potential 38-year-old will make upwards of $56 million in the NBA that is obviously getting younger? Obviously, come on now. Paul George is the 7th highest paid player this year in terms of contract AAV. Embiid is right up ahead of him. It's quite interesting that Paul George is a top 10 paid player and he's playing nothing like it. Being paid $50 million a year to put up less numbers than James Harden is right now. Not just that, but putting less numbers than an average 3-and-D wing. This guy is basically being paid $50 million to be a 3-and-D wing. That is what he is. At this current stage, his scoring output is not nearly as good as it used to be. Not just that, but I'll be honest with you, bro. His off-ball defense is not that good. So really, you rely on him to be somewhat of a lockdown defender, even though you could tell that, age is getting to him. He's not that quick on his feet anymore. Not just on offense, he's barely able to create separation. This is a guy in Paul George that you're paying $50 million to do what exactly? What exactly are you paying him $50 million for? That's the question I ultimately leave this video with you guys with, okay? By the way, there's another aside I want to make here because Paul George, Sixers fans were saying was going to be better than Tobias Harris. I was told that Tobias Harris was the worst thing seen on earth. The Sixers wanted to get rid of him. He's the biggest scammer in Philly history. Bigger than Ben Simmons, apparently. That's what I'm hearing. And now Harris in Detroit. Let's see what he's doing this season compared to Paul George. Okay. He's having a slightly better, if not slightly worse season than Paul George. You know what, man? Maybe it was worth it. Maybe it was. Except Detroit signed him for 2 years, $52 million. He's being paid an average of $26 million a year, whilst Paul George is being paid an average of $52 million a year. Twice as much to barely do much better than Tobias Harris is right now. As a matter of fact, Tobias Harris in Philly last season looks way better than Paul George is currently. It's so sad. Again, shout out to Lo for putting out this graphic in a recent video. Look at this, man. It's just... Great video as always, Loke. This is beautiful stuff.
Reggie Jackson has it, and now Paul George 5 to shoot. Stuck in a corner against Bain. Paul George airballs.
This dude, Paul George, was awful in his game against the Grizzlies before he got hurt, okay? I know people are going to give him sympathy points because he got hurt, so they're not going to criticize his game too much now, right? But he's been terrible. He's been terrible. The one field goal he did have, why it was in transition, where he carried the ball seemingly. Like, okay, bro.
Outside of Summer League. Paul George, offensive foul.
And guys aren't even threatened by Paul George on the defensive end. Like, it's just whatever, man. How is Luke Kennard blowing by you like this? How is this happening under your watch? You're supposed to be a defensive lockdown player. This is just sad. I just keep replaying it because it's funny. This is why when I tweeted, this is officially the worst contract in the NBA, this is why I knew I was right. I knew that people would find out about Paul George being not the same player that he was nearly back when he was in the Clippers in his early years. Not just that, but when he was in OKC in his last season. When I saw that James Harden outplayed him in the playoffs in 2024, that's when I knew this guy was wasted goods. This guy is booty cheeks. I'm trying to find the right words, but some words just, spring out of me. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard for me to try to be 15th in the Eastern Conference, and part of the reason is because they signed Paul George to a massive contract, and they couldn't recoup any assets that were obviously going to be salvageable in a deal. Are you going to trade Paul George to a team that desperately needs him? He's 34 going on 35. Who wants him? Who wants a Paul George that is clearly not the same player, clearly going through injuries now? He hyperextended his knee twice within the last month. Do you know how silly that is? Do you know how goofy that sounds? Like, at this point, I don't even think it's an accident anymore. I feel like it's just the way you play. Like, you just happen to hyperextend it all the time. You just have to stop. Like, you might have to retire and actually become a full-time podcaster. Even though I titled the video the way I did, I still think he still got some years left of basketball, but it's not as a $50 million superstar player that he's being paid right now. It's really just a 3D ring role player that could potentially come off the bench, right? That's really his value in this league. He could be a veteran that, teaches the young guys, right, how to play basketball. I think a lot of young guys, Brendan Miller included, look up to this guy, so he does have a place in this league still. The problem is that Daryl Morey basically gave him a bag, and he gave him a bag to be able to pursue his full-time passion, which is currently podcasting. He's a full-time, as we know, brought to you by the 76ers org. This is a great segment here. I want to play this to end the video off because it just screams Paul George.
I said it felt like the B team just because of everywhere you go, people in LA say you should be a Laker. You should be a Laker. That wasn't minimizing. That wasn't, downplaying or, I was a Clipper. Like, that's who I chose to play for. Like, I wasn't, comparing them and saying that they were underneath the Lakers. It was just how LA interprets that, or how LA treats players that are in LA. Like, they think you should be a Laker. They think there's not another team there.
Yeah.
So that was where that comment was from. But they proved me right. They didn't pack out, and they aren't packing out into it Dome. Like, that's y'all home, that's y'all team. Go fucking support them.
Philadelphia, good luck with this dude. This is who you will have to deal with for the 4 years that he's here, because he's definitely not going anywhere. So I salute to you guys. I feel bad for y'all, but at the same time, I don't, because I love this for you guys. I love that you're suffering. I love to see your downfall. It's beautiful. I'm very happy to see Philly down yet again, baby. Let's go. And I'll get to Joel Embiid in a future video. Embiid. Oh boy.